What a beautiful day
Yes,
with a
indeed.
beautiful short rain.
There wasn't any rain here.
Really? What a beautiful day.
Mhm. In Montgomery County, there was no rain.
Wow. That's the work of God, as usual. So, with that said, welcome. Welcome to Medical Mondays with Dr. O. Welcome to another amazing session of learning and growing. Dr. Toyin Okpesomi, a family practitioner in Maryland, and I host Medical Mondays with Dr. O. I would like to give a disclaimer that we are not establishing physician or provider-patient relationship on this platform, never ever. All we are doing is sharing correct and congent information to help us prevent disease entities or to know how to handle them if they have occurred. So tonight we have one of our very own, Dr. Mary Olodun, who is a naturopathic doctor. But I have to say, this woman is one of the, I mean, one of the most humble human beings I've met. She happens to be my relation also. I won't go into those details.
From Ogbomoso.
No, he's wrong. From Abeokuta. How can she be from Ogbomoso? I said somebody is my relation. You said from Ogbomoso.
I've
Can you
already told
imagine?
you the
What's
boundary line
wrong?
is drawn.
What's wrong with Ogbomoso?
I said somebody is my relation. He's saying the person is from Ogbomoso. How can it be? Dr. Ajagbe, don't let me mute you.
But what's wrong with Ogbomoso?
Oh, I'll explain that later. So I need to stay focused right now. So I would like everybody on the platform, and I'm going to say this again later, that, I would like to thank Dr. Olodun for her service in the U.S. She's a top-ranking officer, and she served her country. On the platform tonight already also, we have retired Lieutenant Colonel Monica Womack also here, one of my new sisters, and she's Yoruba, and
From
from
Ogbomoso.
Dr. Jagbe Kadina from Abeokuta. So Dr. Lodun is also a retired Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army. So thank you so much for your service. We are so grateful. And thank you for how you continue to impact us positively to just make sure that we stay healthy. God bless you. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, first of all, it's all my honor. Thank you so much, Dr. O, for having me on once again. And it is quite humbling, living a life that actually can make a difference in the lives of others. So I'm very grateful to be aware of that. And I'm very humbled to be used by God to do what I do every day. So I'm very excited about our future here, as it relates to how we're coming together on this platform to make a difference in the lives of those who connect. So, yes, and I will also honor all of you doctors who are on the line, and I will honor all of my friends. And it's great to see you on once again, Lieutenant Colonel retired Monica. Who once was my boss, even, and now is a really close friend. So, as not to belabor what I would like to do is to that's one of the things about you'll find about military people. We're all about time structure and staying on it. So, I'm always very conscious because I understand that for all of us on the line at this point in most of our lives, dollars and minutes equals to dollars and cents, and it is quite an investment when you're here to invest in yourself so that we can make a difference for others. So thank you. So tonight I asked because there probably will be some things I say, and especially up front, and throughout the brief, that you just take a few notes and put your questions down. I'm going to do my best to allot enough time towards the end so that we can address anything that wasn't addressed in the brief. And I know how I am. I literally am one of those people that I can't think past my question, right? So that's why I'm so grateful that Zoom people, given the benevolence of God under His creation, were able to create the chat feature. So if you just got to stick it, your question in there so you can focus for it, then put your question in the chat. We'll get to it at some point for sure. Okay. All right. So, and if you're not muted, do me a favor and mute yourself, just so that I'm not distracted by the background. I actually have on some sound glasses, so it picks up everything. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up, Dr. O, if I'm coming through good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we're gonna talk about the simplicity of tonight's discussion is really about breathing. When we come down to it, right, what we're talking about is having or creating the environment to take a breath without harming our bodies, right? Because this is that automatic or automated things that we do. We don't have to think about breathing. It's going to happen. And one of the main impetus of us sharing that breath is because it affects all creation, right? So what I breathe out and what is kind of toxic to me or something I don't want to keep, carbon dioxide, as that comes out of me, taking all the impurities out through breath and respiration, right? It's life for the plant force. One of the greatest, I would say the greatest blessing to mankind is when God said in 129, Genesis 129, I created the plants as meat for your consumption. They need us to live and we need them to live because their waste is our oxygen, right? So we don't want anything to impede that. And so on this opening slide, even I got pictures of our next generation where we're trying to leave a legacy of good earth, a good ecosystem for our children's children. Now, I won't go into a lot of depth about introducing me. I mean, I am the founder and owner of Trilera Holistic Care here in Bluffton, South Carolina. I have, one of the greatest accomplishments of my life is my family, my husband, Dr. Aderemi Olodun from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. And we have 5 beautiful children between us, 4 grandchildren. And then the youngest one is 13, still at home with us. But we both retired from the military. We both have these legacies, and we continue to plant blessings for generations to come. I stepped down recently. I'm the emeritus for the Holistic Chamber of Commerce in this area. And then I sit on a number of boards, including Life University in Marietta, Georgia, a hemp board up in North Carolina. And I'm newly joining a legal nonprofit board here in the local area that has a medical entity to it. So, we're doing everything we can to give back what God has planted in us. And so the future that our inheritance is really for our children and our children's children. We want to give them a clean earth, right? And we want them to breathe good air. So this year we had the blessing of taking our daughter on the left. You see a picture of that's Shola, Oluwashola, right? So that's Shola. So Shola, we took her to Switzerland with us. And one of the things I would say, out of all the places I've been lately, that place really believes in clean everything. I mean, they don't allow in Europe, period, Europe-wide, they don't allow the BHTs, the hormones, the steroids, but they also are very particular about their water. When they were giving us water on the plane on the way there, I was thinking, what's the big deal? And I drank the water. I was like, what's up with this water? I got off and we got to our Airbnb, and the owner said, hey, you could just drink your water out the faucet. I was like, I don't drink faucet water. I am a water snob. And I say that because my husband owned a water store at one point. I know water from the molecular structure of 11 clusters that, originated and down to the 5 clusters, stagnation of it being a hydrogen water. I understand water like most people never even think about water. And so when I drink it, I can tell if it's contaminated immediately. And so I said, well, I'll be the judge of that. And I drank that water out the faucet, and I was like, I couldn't stop drinking it. It was like the best alkaline water you ever want to taste in your life. So Switzerland they're very high elevation, and they believe in a purification system so that their people could live long and live prosperous. And I saw I'm struggling going up and down the Alps and the mountains, and there's this gentleman who looked like he could have been 85 or 90, had 2 sticks, he was barefoot, and he was getting it. So I just say that to say, on the left, Switzerland, on the right, the next clean country that we got to visit this year was Costa Rica. They're not as rich as Switzerland is, but they still believe in natural resources, eating off the land, fruits, vegetables, much like Africa, right? But it's amazing because when you're getting good land, good food, and you're not contaminating it, it makes a difference. So we'll talk, I'm going to head on to the next slide. We'll talk today about the introduction of air quality, the importance of that. We'll talk about our product selections. How do you know when you're getting a good product? How don't you know? What makes a good product for the environment, and what makes product selection kind of tough sometimes? Issues arising from toxicities, right? And then steps to creating a healthier environment, for our home, for our office, right? And then we'll talk about some review and references and some conclusion and questions, right? So I want to spend time dialoguing about this because, we can get really technical, but that's not going to help people, right? You can actually look up EPA laws and, all that stuff is at your fingertips with Google. But this discussion is going to talk about practicality. What can we do today in our homes to make a difference in the lives of those we love every day, right? So then let's talk about our homes for a second. Now, when we're looking at this, right, the healthy environment starts here in the place we live, breathe, and eat every day. Now, some of us, granted, we might spend 50% of our time outside the house, or 60 because we're so busy going, but typically between the house and the office, right? So you want those environments to be pretty clean, right? Well, a recent study by Berkeley was done that shows 5,000 tons of volatile organic compounds are released in homes and workspaces every day. Now, here's the thing. Every company that produces any kind of products are given a certain amount of these compounds they can use, because it's almost impossible to create some things when you're using plastics and things like that without leaching some of these toxicities into whatever the chemicals are, whatever they are making. However, think about it like this. If this company is able to produce a little bit of it and they still stay within the EPA, right, environmental protection agencies guidelines, but then you end up collecting and going out and buying 1,000 products for your house. Every time you open one of those products, you're leaching a little bit of that into your environment. So collectively, you end up opening all these things at one time, or they're all going on at the same time inside your house. That's where more poisons happen in the home than out of the home every day, right? So you have a case in point. Let's say I don't want to get COVID, so I'm a clean freak, right? And so your idea of clean is, I'm going to take my Lysol, I'm open it up, I'm going to go in my bathroom and I'm going to wipe everything down with Lysol. But at the same time, you're one of those people who grew up like I did, where when you're cooking in the kitchen, a little tablespoon of bleach goes into your dishwater, and then you're going back there whitening your whites with this bleach too, and then you're putting all these. Hey, I got to have Tide to have this smell to it and scent to it. I got to have these fabric softeners that go into my into the fabric softener. I got to have all these different products to make my home like super clean. Well, I don't know. Have you all ever met anyone who got or contracted bronchitis because of like a chemical exposure poison? I have. I experienced that with my own sister. So I used to tell her all the time, because she was one of those cleaning fanatics. I would tell her, when you clean with these chemicals, you have to vent. You have to open up a window. Now, a lot of the bathrooms nowadays don't even have windows, right? They got vents, you turn them on, whatever. But she wouldn't do it. Somebody's not muting. She would not do it. And so she ended up contracting bronchitis, and she had it for about a year before I helped her get rid of it. But my point is, first of all, you can prevent this from happening. And it starts at the impetus of what you buy and put in your home. That's where it begins. The awareness of it. Like, on the left is a picture of my home. It looks bland, but Monica's been here. Not that bland, right? But at the same time, I keep a very clean and pristine environment. And here's the point. I tell people all the time, clean doesn't have a scent. Why do we believe that we have to have some type of smell or some type of a scent that's going on in order to be clean? Right? Don't you say that. Thank you, Monica. That's pretty. I thought you were going to say it's just too clean. But why do you think you have to have a scent, right? My thing is, clean doesn't have a scent. When you breathe, you want to just breathe fresh air into your lungs, right? So let's talk about what you're bringing into your home that contributes to these toxicities being released every day. All right. So we're going to, okay, recording is in and recording is out. Now, the bottom left is not my home, don't ask. Okay, but I like that's me in the middle, right? And I just got some new products that somebody blessed me with. Okay, wonderful. Now, here's the thing. When you have these, and what they call, it's a long name for this, but pretty much it's just saying synthetics. 16,000 synthetics are in our home. Every day we're releasing at least 16,000 different synthetics that become toxicities in the air. All right. Now, when I actually test someone, I do what we call AO scanning. And this is when I scan people's body and my scan picks up on frequencies. I do frequency scanning, right? And this connects with the electromagnetics that's inside of people, but it's very gentle and is sensitive enough to pick up down to the blood panel level and chromosome level. So I can see, it'll tell me, hey, this person's been exposed to what they call exotoxins. That's any toxicity that didn't happen from a bio connection, right? So if in fact, let's say you ate some sushi, okay, I love sushi. So we eat sushi, and then next thing you know, we have some parasitic action going on. Those are considered toxicities to the body when they're overgrowth of parasites, but they're bios, right? They're actually, animal, live, whatever in the body. But when we have exotoxins, it's something from the outside that's considered poison, and somebody's still making a little bit of background noise for me. But there's some outside toxins that actually we get exposed to, and then our body carries that with them, and it causes other problems, and we'll talk about those problems in a few minutes. But be very concise about what you buy and allow in your environment. If I can't read the labels or read what this particular thing is, I don't want it in my house. Okay. My husband has a rule. he still believes that bleach was created for clothing. He doesn't, I guess he maybe never did the research I did that showed that it was created as a biological warfare agent, right? Back when they were making the atomic bombs, they discovered bleach and chlorine and they would bomb people with this. And then they found out that it whitens whites. Well, it's not just that simple, right? It's because the government mandated that these companies get rid of these chemicals in a healthy manner. When they didn't have ways of doing that, they just decided to repackage them and sell them back to us, right? So it's a landmine. So he's still, but he knows bleach can't come into my home. So he'll keep it in the garage with his garage stuff. And then he knows that he can't wash my clothes because my clothes will not be washed with biological chemicals. I figure bleach, hydrogen peroxide, if it's good for a hospital, I mean, in terms, I'm meant to say alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, if it's good enough for a hospital, it's good enough for mine. I use baking soda, vinegar, and then when I say plant-based, I am talking about plants that I know are good for the environment. And I would buy those products and I put them in and I use them as cleaning agents for my clothing. But I figure when my clothes, my whites, because he's really big on whites, look at white. But when I tell him all the time, I said, I could buy more clothes. When my whites look dingy, I will give them away and I will buy some new ones. I do not mind buying new clothes, but I can't buy another me. So that's how I feel about that. Now, that being stated, we talk about products. When we talk about the home, we're talking about everything. I'm going from the kitchen. When people come to me and they have stage 1, 2, 3, 4 cancer, the first thing I say is, stop all like meat and meat consumption because your body at this point has to work too hard to live and it takes too much to break meat down. And then we have a discussion about what goes in the body. Then the second discussion is what is the body exposed to? So then I say, take me around. If it's tele-wellness, take me around your house. And we go from room to room to room, getting rid of toxic products that they're exposed to. Now, here's the biggest culprit that I've ever seen, and people don't even realize it. It goes like this. And then let's wait about 10 minutes. Then it go. Psst. Once I was in a church bathroom with a lady. This was years ago, maybe about 15 years, 20 years ago. And she walked in and we were talking and having a good discussion. And she was hoarse. And she was like, I said, why are you hoarse? You've been screaming, singing, what? She said, oh, no, my voice has just been going a little bit over time. And she said, and I literally have been like this for about, what she said, for about, you know, 3 or 4 months. And I was like, really? So then I said, well, what do you think it is? She was like, I have no idea. So then I started to examine things. And sure enough, she ends up having one of these automated scent dis- diffusers where it just sprays the scent into the house. I told her, I said, hurry up and get that out your house. I said, those things are also spraying thousands of toxicities in the air. I said, I'm sure you're allergic to it, but more importantly, it's just not good for you. And it's messing up your respiratory. She got rid of that, and within months, her voice came back. My point is, if you don't know what's in it and you can't describe it and you don't need it. If you're going to diffuse something in your home, excuse me, I'll drink lots of water. If you're going to diffuse something, try to get 2 for 1. I have diffusers all over my house, but they're essential oil diffusers. If you want to do therapies, and that's a great way for you to actually say, hey, I usually struggle with allergies this time of year. I'm going to do something in my diffuser. So you put your water in it and you put a few drops of something like On Guard, a good mix of cinnamon and cloves and all that, a couple of drops in there, and then you diffuse it in the air. Right now you're getting inhalation therapy. And that's how you also fragrance your air. I have what we call the ionizer. I'm going to move on to this because we're going to talk about the effects. I have an ionizer that we put on the main handler of our home. That ionizer actually zaps these different bacteria or any kind of viruses in the air before it even hits our air. And so when I come home, and I love having a very clean environment because I can smell when something's not right. I can smell when my daughter's doing something wrong. I smell. So, it's very healthy to have an environment you can smell. If you got to put all this stuff around you to, cover up the scent because it smells, find out why it's smelling and clean it up with some vinegar, water, lemons. You go back to what grandma them used to do because that's the healthiest stuff for us to do. Now, as we talk about that, okay, we talk about synthetics, we talk about these things. If you can't pronounce, I'm gonna give y'all some tips on the next slide. But this one, it's just here are some of the problems that come from using a lot of these different volatile organic compounds in the air. Of course, it makes your air more susceptible also to flame, like right, dangerous because things can happen. And next thing you know, hey, if it's high enough of volatility, explosion can happen when stuff is next to other compounds. So that's one thing. But in the body, it's carcinogenic, right? There's cancer causing agents are all mixed up in this, especially bleach. Bleach is a big one, right? Immune suppressing agents. So these things don't just, cause the toxicities to stay there without you want to, it's an oxymoron. You're running around using Lysol, trying to keep your environment clean so you don't get sick. But the Lysol is suppressing your immunity so that you can't even fight when you get outside your house. Uh-oh. And then you have this reaction, right? Like when I was on the delivery table with my daughter, the operating table, actually, because my last child was by cesarean, and the anesthesiologist overdosed me. The anesthesia should stop right at chest level. It went all the way up into my head. I was paralyzed. And what I walked away with 7-8 days later, like 7 days past that time, was pulmonary edema. This is what's going on when you're releasing the chemicals in your air. These things are going inside of the respiratory system and causing that exotoxic reaction of inflammation, right? And causing the pulmonary system to become more inflamed. That's problematic by itself, and that will cause a lot of pain and problems. Then you have also what we call endocrine disruptors. So the hormone system, endocrine system kind of runs the body, right? When you shut it down and stop it from doing what it's supposed to do, then people want to know, why I'm gaining so much weight. Well, yeah, it's just a normal, process to go into perimenopause and menopause. Well, a woman's life, once she starts her menses, is all about pausing, right? So here's the point. When you stop the body from doing this process, you shouldn't have extreme problems. When you have extreme problems, even in those processes, it's something else going on, and we have to get to the bottom of it. And then the biggest thing from, being exposed to what I would consider COVID, that's why it was unlike any other natural virus I've ever experienced, where people walking away with cognitive disruption, right? But this is exactly what is happening with these synthetics. So let's talk about what can we do about this, right? So how can we create this healthier living environments? Well, I'm gonna go through these 9 steps with you, and then we'll all talk about it together. But first of all, read everything. So the reason we got on this in the first place is because I was hanging out with Dr. O, and we were at a store, and we were just trying to muddle around a little bit and waste a little bit of time. So she wanted to buy this candle for a friend of mine. And I said, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll get it." I said, "But just make sure there's no lead filament." And she was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I said, "Just look at the wick." I said, "Now, if you see that little, dark metal looking stuff in the middle," I said, "that's poison. You don't want that in your house. Just, we looking for a soy wick candle." She was like, "I can't believe what you're telling me. Nobody's ever told me this," which I can't help. I'm not laughing at you, Doctor, but it's funny. So I was like, Well, turn it over. We started reading the label, and it sure enough compared that to another candle. She said, "See, this one said wax. It says soy wax wick." I said, "Exactly." So you have to read everything. Here's another contraption I got all together. I stopped burning candles for the most part, period, because now you got the thing you can plug in and melt it. But I found this little candle lamp. I love it. I made a candle at a place that was all non-toxic because that's their shit, if you will. That's their thing. I was trying to say like the Jewish say the shit. But anyway, not the other thing. But so that's their thing. And you just put the candle under the lamp and it heats everything up and it smells up the house and it's safer and the whole nine. I love it. So anyway, read. Pay a little more for clean products. Pay a little bit now so you don't have to pay a whole bunch later. I know people who have been on Dr. O's Medical Mondays. I've heard people say that a million times. That's just a simple thing. I'd rather pay a little bit more upfront for quality so that I don't have to pay later for quantity of health care, right? And then plant-based. It may be holistic, but just because it says plant-based, don't fall for it either, because that could be a cell employee, right? Rubber is plant-based, but I don't want to smell it in my home. All right. So read the ingredients to be sure. Use an air ionizer, like I just explained. Put it on the main handler or just buy one and put it in your home. I have an ozone machine too. I run it when people leave, and that cleanses and washes the air in my home. Keep home filters clean. They say every 3 to 6 months. Be advantageous about that, right? Choose wood or laminate floors over carpet. If I go into a hotel with carpet, oh my goodness, what restaurant has carpet? If you go in places with carpet nowadays, it should be a short-lived experience, right? Because anything could be in it. Even if it's bourbon carpet, I don't want carpet at all. I want to see dirt on the floor, and I want to know that it could be easily cleaned up. Stop using scented and automated fragrances. I'm going to need y'all to stop those immediately. Okay. Instead, use therapeutic essential oils in diffusers, or if you know is made with essential oils, that's quite all right. Reduce the use of aerosols, right? Not just for the health of the environment, which it is, but also that can go right into your lungs. Okay. I use 7th generation sprays, but I use it between clients in my office. But I'm very particular about not doing it when they're around and letting the air out, because they use oregano oil. Oregano can kill everything. But at the same time, I don't want it in my lungs. You know what I'm saying? So instead, try to opt for pump sprays and mist. And then be aware of these products. Read your soaps, your detergents, your cleaning products. Again, vinegar, lemon, baking sodas, water could do the same thing. Okay. Candles, lotions, body deodorants, tampons, maxi pads, foot stump, a lot of bleach. And then your plastic container bottles, your sanitizers, your pest controllers, and perfumes. I did say perfumes. Okay. So here's what we talked about: the introduction of air quality importance, because we have to leave this earth cleaner, a clean place for our children, our children's children. That's their inheritance. The product selections, reading your products and making sure that you become a product snob. Don't let the culprit into your home. Issues arise from toxins, and we talked about a lot of what those issues are. Steps of creating a healthier environment. We went over those steps, and then now you can see a few different little references down here. I can make sure that you get this if you need this slide. But this is it. This is the conclusion. This is your opportunity to ask questions. And with that, I would say, what do we have?
Wow. Thank you so, so much.
You're welcome.
That was deep. And that is true. When I found out that candles actually, the wick of candles actually have lead. That was indeed what led to this conversation when I said, look, Medical Mondays family have to know this. We have to know that there are so many toxins in our environments that we need to be aware of. Can you believe it? Candles that we light all the time. And thank you so much for sharing this picture of Shola, my baby.
Oh yeah, we just did a parasitic and weight loss cleanse, and she lost 10 pounds. I lost 10 pounds, but you know we have to do it for our kids as well. And when we see them struggling, we got to be willing to help them through it. You know, but I keep a clean environment so that she can have a good life and lifestyle. Mm-hmm.
And you do. I've been to your house so many times. I can attest to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it looks all the time. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for, living what you preach, because some people will talk, but they don't live it. And, I am so always grateful for you because what we see is what we get when it comes to you. Thank you. God bless
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
you. So I have a question here for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Says, thank you for the presentation. What type of
Yes.
water bottle or container will you recommend? I can see you are drinking from one today.
Mhm.
I like
Yes,
that.
absolutely. So,
That's somebody who is very observant.
yes, thank you. I would say go with the steel, right? So these are like your steel aluminum. First of all, they're thermal, right? So it's going to hold whatever temperature in from the heat, because the heat can actually connect with plastics and heat them up, and you'll have a leaching of toxicities into the water. But I know my sister Marcia taught about that when she came on. She's also an ND. But I say that to say you want to do that. Glass is good too, but it's just not as practical, because when you drop glass, you drop it, right? So I would go with the stainless steel that won't leach.
Yeah, because actually we had a conversation about that on Medical Mondays. Yeah,
Mhm.
if you please put the slide down, it would help me to be able to see the hands. I just saw that I missed some Mr. Moody's hand being raised. So we talked about that a while back on Medical Mondays, where we were taught not to drink from the water bottles because of the
Mhm.
plastic. So thank you
Mhm.
for that insight.
Mhm.
Thank you for that
Mhm.
question. Mr. Imodi, kindly unmute and ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. O.
And
Thank you.
by the way, Mr. Imodi, because you haven't met him, he's a financial guru. He's with Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and amazing man. So for all your financial needs, connect with him.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the plug-in, Doc. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very, very informative. Now, this question might be a little bit directed also to Dr. Agbaje, who is the dentist in the audience.
Mhm.
Something about fluoride
Mhm.
and the toothpaste. What's the story behind that? That's the first part of my question. I think the second part also, the issue with antiperspirant, anti-deodorant having aluminum in them. Could you
Mhm.
talk about those two as well?
Well, I'll take the second question first, and then I'll defer to him, because I'm pretty sure he and I may have some difference of opinions about fluoride. But the second is definitely want to avoid any deodorants that are considered antiperspirant and stopping the body from perspiring. The body needs to perspire. That's how toxicities leave the body. I believe the reason we see a rise in breast cancer in this nation is because the lymph nodes are not able to filter out toxicities from the breast the way it needs to. When I was growing up, women wore what we called, the main deodorant was Tussie. And there's a joke that Tussie make you musty. But the thing about Tussie, it was a deodorant. It wasn't an antiperspirant,
Okay.
right? So I tell people you want to now look for deodorants that work. My daughter and we use between the two, either Hello or the one called Schmidt's. she has to go with Schmidt's because her body chemistry doesn't do well with the Hello. But my point is, find a deodorant that fits your profile, but please stay away from those that have the aluminum, because the aluminum blocks up the pores' ability to let go of toxicities. Now, fluoride, I will defer to you, dentist, on board, doc, because I don't use fluoride. I don't use anything with fluoride. And I think, to some degree, how it was derived in this nation is a problem for me. But let me defer to him or her. Is it a him? I'm assuming.
Him, Dr.
That's
Agbaje.
Dr. Ajagbe. Dr.
Yeah.
Ajagbe, kindly unmute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm already unmuted. Thank you for the presentation. That was it. Oh my goodness, that was awesome. I can tell you, many of us are doing things that ignorance, we know is not, there is no excuse for being ignorant. Now that we know, we are constantly exposing ourselves to danger as we contribute to the toxicity ourselves, because when you use so much unrecyclable materials, it's going to cause some problem in the environment. Anyways, the question about Mr. Amodi, the question about fluoride is this. I will answer it in two ways. There are people who, in their part of the world, have very high concentration of fluoride in their water. Natural fluoride in the water. And if you go to East Africa in particular, more so in Zambia and Kenya, you see a lot of people with discolored teeth. They are adults, their teeth are mottled, they have brown streaks, deep brown streaks. Their teeth may look not very attractive, but they are resistant to decay.
Mhm.
So if you look at the natural protection that comes from the water that they are drinking, it makes their teeth to be resistant to, even when they eat candy and they are careless, they're not cleaning their teeth as much as other people are doing. Their DMF, which we call the kind of statistics that is being collected, public health wise, shows that the DMF in the Eastern Africa is not as high as everywhere else. Now, we observe that because we notice that when the fluoride binds to the calcium, when the teeth are forming, it forms what is called hydroxyapatite. The hydroxyapatite, fluoroapatite rather, it binds with the hydroxyapatite. The fluoride ion is incorporated into the apatite, which makes the calcium less resistant to acid dissolution. So that's the advantage that was seen by WHO. And they proposed that okay, why don't we introduce, to reduce the burden of decay in the world, why don't we include fluoride in processed water? In which case, if we have 100 parts per million amount of fluoride in water, let's see how well it controls the decay. Well, the observation was positive because there was reduction in the incidence of decay in people whose teeth were forming when they were drinking the fluoride water. Now, if you already grew your teeth and all of that, fluoride has no much effect on you, none. So as an adult, if you keep buying stuff that have fluoride in it, well, you're giving your money away. It's okay. It's voluntary. It's not being forced on you. So I was doing the emojis during the presentation with hearts going up. because some of the things that she was saying were echoing the same thing that we've said here many times.
Okay.
One of them is I have not used toothpaste, the commercial toothpaste, for the past 20 years. Okay, all I've been doing is using baking soda and hydrogen peroxide. So, and every opportunity I've had on Medical Mondays with Dr. O, I've always shared that. Every patient that I see, no matter what they have been doing before, when they get to me and I see the state of their mouth, I'll ask them, do you know anything about baking soda and hydrogen peroxide? They look at me funny, like, what? I say, yeah. I said, but that's your best friend. If you can afford to spend $3 for both of them, you can use the both of them for the next 1 or 2, 3 months. I mean, if you don't waste them. So that's number one, you are saving a lot of money. Number two, you are not exposing yourself to any risk at all. Now, I will say it again for emphasis. The baking soda is an alkali. An alkali will neutralize acid. The bacteria in the mouth is constantly releasing acid from digesting whatever food you eat. Whether it is anaerobic or aerobic, metabolism, it still releases some form of acid in the mouth. Baking soda will neutralize that for you. Baking soda also is slightly abrasive when you first start using it. Then it dissolves in your mouth. So it's not like using Comet or Vim or any kind of scoring agent to brush your teeth, because those are the kind of things that were, the same particles were being added into toothpaste to make it abrasive. So the detergent, the sugar, and the fluoride, they are just overkill. And I try to say to everybody, if you know how to clean your expensive dinnerware, you do not use Cora on your expensive plates. I don't care what you ate. And you say you want to keep your dishes clean, you will not use a Cora on your expensive plates. Your teeth are way more expensive than your plates. Well, if you don't believe me, wait until you lose one tooth and you want to replace it. That's when you will know what it means to be expensive. If you're replacing one single tooth with an implant, the cheapest that you will pay anywhere in the United States, I don't know if you get something that is not passing through FDA approval. If you do the standard implant replacement, you cannot spend less than $3,500.
Stop talking about me.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just saying.
I'm just
Now,
kidding.
imagine how expensive a dish could be. If you spend $3,000 on a dish, that dish must be kept too. You cannot just mess around with that dish. But do you know we have 32 dishes in our mouths and we mess around with them all day long? Now multiply 32 teeth by 3,000 alone. Let's just take the lowest end of the spectrum. See what you are carrying around in your mouth?
Mr.
Every one of
will
us.
be needed then.
Huh?
Mr. Imodi will be needed.
Okay,
to fund it.
so
Get
you
a
can
loan.
see.
I need a dental loan.
So now you see what I'm talking about. If you cannot be meticulous about our mouth because we think the advertisers, the marketing campaigns that get our attention, they tell you we have triclosan, we have fluoride. Research shows this, research shows that. Let me tell you, whoever paid the piper dictates the tune.
Mhm.
Most of the research results that we read about are funded by these corporations.
Mhm.
How are they going to do publish things that will be against them?
Mhm.
They're putting money, they're putting billions of dollars into research. So they're not going to let everything, they want to get their money back at some point.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm saying that baking soda and hydrogen peroxide, that's what I use. I've been using it for about 20 years now. And
Mhm.
I can stand anywhere and still defend this, that is the safest way to keep your mouth healthy.
Okay, so you're saying that we should forget fluoride.
You should avoid fluoride if you're an adult at
Okay.
all, because it doesn't do much to you. If a child who is from childbirth to maybe about 14, 15, when teeth are forming,
Mhm.
then that's when the fluoride is useful. Anytime after that, it's just a waste of resource.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so very much. Is your question answered, Mr. Imodi?
Certainly so. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you both.
So I'm going to jump some questions and I'll ask Dr. Veronica's question. She's on the plane and she still
Okay.
has connection. That is all God. I can't believe she still has connection. She says, all this expensive designer cream and perfume, what do we
Mhm.
do? Supposedly that or I think she's asking, are they safe
Oh, okay.
to invest
Okay.
in quality?
So, well, and I'll be brief because like she's on the plane. You have to still do your research. Okay, there's not a lot of different products on the market that I have found. And you talk about makeup. There's one in particular that was actually designed by healthcare professionals who truly believed in getting the chemicals out, and it's called, the name of the company is called Crunchy. Crunchy is the only one that every product is extremely tested and is designed not to have any kind of chemicals whatsoever. When you talk about perfumes, it just depends on where they're derived, makes them, because if you go around the world, you'll have more and more purity, um, at the basic level. I mean, you go to Whole Foods and just buy those that cost $7, and it's better than, trying to go somewhere and spend $100 and they got all these different chemicals in it and you have no idea. I was told by a lady who a she owned a makeup and a perfume company, and she said, "Do not put this on your skin." She was like, "Don't put any of them on your skin. Spray your clothes, spray your clothes." And I was like, okay. But that told me, I was in my 20s then. I never will forget, because I was like, wow, if she knows what goes into it and she does the testing, and she's like, don't put it on your skin. So I just say that because I've been all around the world, and I can tell you some things are just derived from, Africa to me is just like the cradle of natural resources. I feel a lot better. I'm not saying everything there, of course, is a huge continent, but you can find better resources that where people are making things with hand, shea butters and coconuts and, butter and all these things, and they are mixing it together. You can watch them do it and you feel good about that. I try to go back to clay mud, on my face, and oatmeal, make my own mask. And, I know what I'm doing. And so if we go back to the basics, we find that there's less um, impurities there and simplicity. And boy, you save so much money. We save so much money. I'd rather take that money and put it towards something that's going to be a blessing to somebody in the future, or somebody out there that needs some food or clothes or something. And I mean, because I am beyond, I got, I came from the hood. I got more than enough. And so I don't have to, prove anything, but I do use Crunchy as my base makeup. And I'm kind of happy with it. Dr. O and I we talked about that in the store, Dr. O, then we went through makeup. What about this? What about that? And I was like, Not this company. This ain't a good one. No, this one come from Germany. No, don't do that one. But it's just because of my research. So I just say that to say, be a snob when it comes to what you put on your body and what you put in your body.
So
Read everything.
you did say for perfume, spray your clothes, not the skin.
That's right.
Okay, I heard that right.
Unless you know where it came from, and for a fact, you know it's okay. Essential oils, make your own. Make your own perfume.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Dr.
Yes, ma'am.
Jabe, you have your hand raised. You have a question?
To buttress the point on the perfume, I do use the manufactured perfume, but like you said, I would normally spray it on my clothing. First of all, it stays longer on the clothing. Even after many uses, the fragrance still stays on the clothing. Yes, I make my own fragrances. I have at least 144 different essential oils that I compound into fragrance by myself. If I want, I could choose a blend of all kinds of exotic fragrances and still have them very, very safe.
That's
Because
right.
see, there is the perfume grade alcohol that is not irritant or to the skin. So you can make there's a special oil also that can be a carrier for the essential oils for your deodorant. So if you can do all of this by yourself, not only do you have the flexibility to smell any which way you want, and there is no cookie cutter way of doing it. You feel like smelling vanilla today, smell vanilla. What's wrong with that? So I just want to say that yes, there are ways out of being locked up into the mindset that you have to buy expensive perfume. All of these things has to do with marketing. The manufacturers of perfumes want to make money because they spend more money on the display than the quality of the perfume itself.
They do.
So,
They do.
I wanted to be a perfumer on my own, because that's something I really have done a lot of research on to know what kind of essential oils are available and how can I compound them.
Thank you. So once you compound them, let us know and we will take note of that. Thank you so much for that contribution.
You're
Madam,
welcome.
kindly unmute and ask your question or your input. Kindly unmute, ma'am. There you go.
Yeah. Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So this is a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Iyawowa. I love the way you say your husband's name. You need to learn the Oriki.
She does, though. She's very good. And she cooks very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm trying to figure out what is the role of FDA in all of this, because everything, when we come here, we're finding out about all of the things that we're not supposed to do and which we have unfortunately adopted as normal. So that's number one. The number two, Dr. O, can you please tell Dr. Ajagbe to schedule a workshop for us for this perfume? Because it's unavoidable that women are
For the
going to wear
oils and
perfume.
perfumes. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's unavoidable. Yeah. So, because we need to know where to get this oil, we need to go where to get the diffuser and whatever, so we can, actually respond to all of these cautions that we're learning about. Because it doesn't make sense to come and not take action after all of this. But perfume for us, for women, it's very important. Thank you.
Okay.
You know what, Madam CEO, I must say this. We have seen a lot of cancers. Dr. Dr. Olodun, Dr. Mary just said something about breast cancer. We've seen a lot of cancers and we've seen them even in younger ages. And we're all still scratching our heads that what is going on? Why? I know people who have breast cancers who eat fantastic. I actually know how they eat. They don't eat meat, they don't eat all of these things, but then develop breast cancer. All these other things that we don't talk about can be the cause. Researches need to be done, but it's important that, you know, things that we already know, like what is being discussed right now, tonight,
Yeah.
that we avoid them
Yeah.
until we know even more, even we know better. And
Yeah.
that's why we're having this conversation. That was why when we went to that store and she was telling me, oh, no, 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 don't pick this. That candle has lead. I was like, excuse me? Okay, my family needs to know about this, because then she taught me a lot. She told me a lot about, not as comprehensive as what is opened up to us tonight, but she told me quite a bit that I said, no, we need to know this. Please, let's beware, because there are cancers just looming all around. We still the 100% why.
So, can I address just briefly the FDA question? So from my perspective and my research, okay, you have to understand when you come to this country, the history of this nation, right? And part of it is understanding how the Federal Drug and Food Administration was formed, and understanding the foundation being on the Flexner's report that really underpin what we know as our medical system today, right? And the FDA actually supports food and they support drugs. Those two things combined, when the manufacturers and when the commissioners and when the people who really organize and actually lobbies and they make laws to support the food, you know, this is the type of food we will grow in our country, but also they are the same folks who decide on the type of drugs that are used in the medical system. You end up having a system much like we have now, where it's almost a self-licking ice cream cone, where you unfortunately, the problem is actually in the answer. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is their role in this is one that we'll never truly fully understand, but we do know that if you're going to live in America, you're going to have to, and you want to live more abundantly, that's the trade-off. The trade-off is learning how to live naturally outside of the control that has been put in place to keep people either in this matrix of medical system, drugs, and eating this processed food. That has been the trade-off. I've grown up in this nation seeing it change from where people were farmers and people had good health. They just worked hard and sometimes, you know, died from heart attacks or working hard and maybe had some disease of some type. But it was few and far between that we saw cancer. Now with this coming and plaguing our children and whatnot, it comes alongside, the bell curve follows when we started to put foods on shelves, and processed foods follows the bell curve of cancer in this nation. And so I say that to say, you can't depend on that. You can't depend on them to help you navigate this. That's why Dr. O is doing what she's doing, having Medical Mondays. That's why people in my segment, we're helping each other locally, because we found out that depending on the FDA got us to where we are now. And so we're trying to do things differently so we can have a different outcome. But I say that to say, you know, I can give you a lot of resources, and I don't mind Dr. O giving, you know, coming up with here's where you can go and get these things. Here's where you can shop. Thrive is a great place to go for a marketplace online. They have a lot of great products you can kind of trust. You know, you could be part of the system of Daily Harvest where you can buy food. I mean, there's a lot that we could share, but it is more than a notion to say that we're going to have a, you know, can we turn the tides on this? That means eradicating everything we know about our system that we currently live in.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Oh, my big bro, Mr. Doherty, sir, kindly take the floor.
Okay, can you
Welcome.
hear me?
Yes, sir. Welcome,
Oh,
sir.
okay. I just joined not too long ago, so if my question is off base, you just ignore it. But I was gonna ask a question because I think I heard Dr. Ajagbe talking about oral hygiene. So my question is this. About 8 years ago, I had a cap put on one of my lower right molar. And then I think about 2 years ago, the cap came off. And I think I waited too long to go back to my dentist. And they said my teeth had cracked, that they have to remove it and do an oral surgery and then have it, I forgot the medical name now. But so they took it out 2 months ago, and now everything is fine. But now they're calling me that I have to come back. You know, they told me I have to wait like 2-3 months once they took it out for it to properly heal. And then now they're calling me back and saying I have to come back in for that surgery. And I think I heard Dr. Ajagbe saying to put back your tooth. It's about 3,500, which is correct, by the way. But now that the molar is out, I have no problem with my teeth. And I'm now wondering, should I even go back to have them do whatever the surgery they wanted to do to put it back? That's my question.
Well, sir, I don't think they'll put that tooth back. They're going to implant a tooth.
Implant
Yeah,
is the word I'm
implant a
looking
tooth
for.
in
Yeah.
there. Yes. So I'll let Dr. Ajagbe answer that question. But Dr. Ajagbe, 2 minutes on that question, and then you had your hand raised anyway. Kindly unmute. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the question. Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
I'm sorry that that happened to you, but usually it's not unusual that a tooth that has a cap, at some point, if it has decay under it, will crumble and the crown will come off and the tooth will be lost. Particularly for those who been told to do root canal. Root canal at some point has been very useful, but from my experience over many years, I've seen that almost every root canal fails. I didn't say all of them fail, but almost every single one of them will fail at some point. So you can prolong the life of a tooth, but eventually the tooth will be taken out. So now
the implant should
yes, so the implant is necessary, particularly if you don't have other, if you want to have efficient chewing when you are eating. If you don't want to use implant, there are other options. You could have a bridge, which means two adjacent teeth to the space can be connected so that you now have a tooth replacing the missing one, and it will be like you didn't lose any tooth. But it will still be the same way like a crown, the cap that you had a few years back that came off. The other option would be to do what we call dentures. There are two, the removable partial denture, which means if you have more than one tooth missing, all the teeth that are missing in the same jaw can be connected to replace the missing ones. So let's say you have one missing on the right, one missing on the left, and you want to replace them at the same time without any surgery. you can replace them with a removable partial denture. I hope that answers your question.
I think partially. I think my
Mr.
question.
Duarte, Mr.
So
Duarte,
the
sir,
question,
they will
so
take-
if you
hello,
want,
Mr. Jagwe, please, Dr. Jagwe, please, I'm sorry. Mr. Duarte, we will take that question
off, yeah,
offline.
yes,
Okay,
that's what I was
thank you.
going to say.
Because
Specifics will
really,
be off.
the question, what he was talking about before you came was about fluoride and stuff like that. So we'll take it offline. So
Okay, thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. You had your
Yeah.
hand raised.
Yes, I was just going to refer to the fluoride again. Let me quickly go to my search online. It says fluoride toothpaste usually has warnings to keep it out of reach of children under 6 years of age. And so it goes down and tells you that definitely there are so many so many possible side effects to using fluoride. Now, one part of the warning that is on the toothpaste packages is if ingested, fluoride can be poisonous, especially in large quantities. Of course, nobody wants to squirt the whole toothpaste tube in their mouth, but this is why the toothpaste containers have warning to contact poison control if ingested. So, if the use of fluoride at all is what we are talking about, I don't think if you use fluoride in any form will cause danger. But if it's ingested, definitely, if it's ingested in large quantities, it could be very poisonous. But like I said earlier, if you are not a child that is just forming their teeth, taking any form of fluoride as part of your food is superfluous. You're just wasting that resource. You don't need it. Your body can't use it really. So that's what I was going to say. Now, the other thing I had in mind was about the fragrance. It's okay. We can have a workshop if that's what people are requesting, according to Madam VP. So if anybody is interested, we can still talk about it off record.
Not here, not
Yes, off
now.
record.
I have
So,
questions, and
okay.
I wanted to, go onto them so we can stay on point.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So Haman from Britain asked, with regard to meat non-consumption for cancer sufferers, do you include fish in your opinion? And I just got a text that Dr. Olodun's phone died. So I think she's trying to, see what she can do with iPad. I don't know if she'll be able to do that.
That's lack of fluoride.
Lack of fluoride. So he also asks, could you please recommend a system of elimination to cut out the money impurities you mentioned? Money, I don't know what that is. Money impurities. Okay, so if I can, maybe stop the one non-meat eaters, does that include fish? People are advocating not eating meat. I don't know if it's the meat itself that is, bad, or the hormones and then antibiotics they use in raising these animals so that they can have, bigger animals and more meats in the market. That is what most naturopaths and our food experts are talking about when they encouraging us to go to the plant-based diet mostly. So I'm not a meat eater, so I will not advocate it unless I know where that meat is grown. I see it running around, walking around, then I will. Otherwise, I don't. And sorry, Dr. Mary is not back on yet to be able to stab that question. So Queen Esther, kindly unmute. Thank
Hello.
you. Hello.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, Dr. Kwesam.
Oh, my darling sister Esther. I saw Queen Esther. I'm like, okay, welcome, welcome.
Well done. Yeah. So I have a question. So sorry I logged in late. But I caught the tail end of the discussion about the cancer that is spreading everywhere now. So what I want to know is why we have so much of, you know, the outbreak, shall I say, outbreak of cancer within the African community, especially Nigerian community. That one I can speak for. When we don't, in most cases, eat the type of food that is, Americans eat. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, in my house, if I want to eat fufu, most of the time I'll cook a bitter leaf soup or this and that, and we eat. And yet people are still developing cancer. People are still dying within the Nigerian community, specifically, and within the African community, at large. So what could be the cause of that? And how do we eliminate or reduce this, I don't know what to call it, within our community?
Excellent question. I don't know if you know, a lot of foods are now imported into African countries instead of the normal way that people grew their plants and raised their animals, chickens and stuff like that. Now they are importing chicken into African countries. Not only that, the people who have poultry in Nigeria and most other African countries, they actually raising their chicken the same way that is done here now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at when we were in school, I remember that when we get in fertilizers, they used to take us to cow farms to go get the cow dung that are used as fertilizers, right? Now the insecticides, the artificial fertilizers, and all those things are what are used also in African countries instead of what we used to use. So a lot of things have been westernized. And I think this is a thought. For me, I want to see the research. The allopath hat that wear, just makes me always want to see the research. But that's a big thing amongst us now. And look at all that was discussed tonight, the perfumes that we spray on, the antiperspirant deodorants and all. People use them. We use them all over Africa. And, it just occurred to me when Dr. Mary was speaking tonight that antiperspirant deodorants, yeah, they stop you from sweating. And is that really what we want? I never thought of that. So those are the things. I don't think our lifestyle is that much different from here now. That's the problem, Queen Esther.
Thank you for the answer.
Thank you. You're welcome. Dr. Dublin. Wow, you're still up. Kindly unmute. Yes.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Dr. O, how are
Hello.
you? Thank you for a very good presentation. These are very necessary because, as you say, we eat a lot of different foods, as Dr. O just mentioned, and the fact that most of the foods are imported into our countries, and some of the food they send are below the standards that they themselves probably use. So we are at the mercy. So topics like this help us to reshape ourselves and probably get closer to the original and traditional way of doing things. Just a question, in Dominica, we are towards a wellness society. A lot of people do extracts of essential oils. But I'm thinking, are all these oils good for the skin? I mean, there are some which are very strong, like the bay oil and these things. Each of them have different purposes, but can you use all the oils, maybe in fragrances, or are they good for the skin? Or could she guide us as to which oil she figure, maybe due to their, I don't want to say toxicity, but probably the strength may not be good for the skin itself. So, but I want to thank again and Dr. O for this, for choosing this topic. Very important.
Thank you so much. So are all these oils good for the skin? That's a subject. That's a topic on its own. And
Yeah.
Dr. Mary, for technical difficulties, dropped off. So Dr. Jagbe is going to do a workshop for us on oils. And so I'm writing this down so that we'll be able to address that at that time. It's an excellent question. When that workshop is done, we will discuss, we have to discuss what potency, what oils are good, which ones are not, and why these oils, why combine this and all of that. I'm sure Dr. Jagwe will do his own work to do,
Yeah, I can mention some things now.
No, I don't, it's the reason why.
Just one comment, just to help him. There are many oils, essential oils, that are actually best for the skin. Do you understand? They help mitigate any kind of skin disease. Many of them are antioxidants. They contain antioxidant within them that actually help the skin. So yes, we will talk more specifically about those oils, but they are not dangerous to the skin. Any of the essential oils coming from the plant that has fragrance is good for the body.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much. That's helpful. Thank you. So Sisola said most stainless steel have plastic covers. So when she makes a hot tea, she leaves it open for a while to prevent the plastic from leaching into the tea. And wanted to know what Dr. Olodun thinks. I think that's a smart idea. And I think maybe not even using those plastics. Like, I have this here, this cup here. Inside of it is stainless steel, but on the top, that is not plastic. It is not your, the plastic, like the soft plastic that you use, that they put water in. It's not plastic like that. It's your hard, clear one. This one cannot leach. I think going for stuff like that is better than, the plastics that have the tendency to leach.
The package should read BPA free plastic. When you buy anything that has combination of stainless steel and plastic, just look at the label. Just like Dr. Olodun was saying, if you don't read labels, you won't know what you're taking home. If it says non-BPA plastic, then it's supposedly safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hammond says, living in London, England, it will be interesting to follow the examples you have set. In the UK, they have fluoride in their water as an example of their water companies. We have it too in the US, so we have some fluoride. And Mr. Doherty said, he has it, oh yeah, he already spoke. Sister Baridara Baribor said, Dr. Jagbe, she had been using baking soda and hydrogen peroxide since the last time you told us about it, but it had been causing her a lot of sores on her gum and her mouth. What should she do to prevent this? Oh, I know the answer to that because that happened to me in the beginning. You're brushing too hard. You're brushing too hard, and maybe you need to get those soft toothbrushes, and that may prevent that. But Dr. Jagbe, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Two possible reasons. One is if the hydrogen peroxide is too strong for you, at 3%, you can still dilute it. It will still have the same effect. If you are using 6%, definitely will burn your mouth, and that will cause you to have a lot of ulcers. So please check the label to be sure that it's 3%. If 3% is too strong for your mouth, then try and dilute it 50-50. You should still get the same fizzing and foaming effect in your mouth when you use the diluted ones.
Okay.
But don't stop using hydrogen peroxide just because you think you're getting a lot of ulcers. In fact, it will, if you have the right concentration, it will help the ulcers heal quick.
It does. Even less than 24 hours. It does. So Haman says, is Ham and Hammer a good toothpaste to use? Lobbying groups have a lot of influence with politicians on food and medical standards in the UK. And I think that's everywhere. I'm not sure though. But Dr. Jagbe, is Ham and Hammer a good toothpaste to use? That's it.
Everything will be, read the label. What do they have in that? Even though you see they are using their leverage because they are the biggest manufacturer for baking soda. So because of that, they knew some of the reports that were put out from some of the studies that I participated in, that baking soda is actually useful in, as a safer alternative to regular toothpaste. Now, if you look at it and it still has sweeteners in it, and it still has abrasive in it, and it still has triclosan in it, and it still has fluoride in it, then you know you are overkilling, because you don't need all of that to clean your mouth. You only need the baking soda that they have in there as the base to clean your mouth.
But
so
it's
that
actually,
will be.
he actually is agreeing with you in another, segment. He said he fully agrees with you on the non-effect of fluoride after a certain age and the baking soda / peroxide substitute. She said purchasing toothpaste with fluoride is a waste of money. And then he asked the question, are all essential oils recommended for application on the skin? Dr. Jagbe already answered that, and we will continue that conversation when we're able to fit in the workshop for oils. He also says in his earlier question, sorry, he meant many impurities in the earlier question, and that he noticed that individuals who sauna regularly appear to be a lot healthier. I don't know. I don't know the effect of sauna on the health. I think it's great on vacation. We all do it, but I don't know the effect on the health. So Sister Ola said, another thing women need to be aware of in line with breast cancer is the type of brass worn. Brass with metal underwire is highly discouraged. And yeah, we talk about when women get home, also take off the bra, use brass as less as possible. Thank you for raising that point. There has been some dialogue on that. Someone said, assume user, for dietary information to help against cancer, the person says they follow Dr. Bobby Price and Rochelle Parks on YouTube and other social media platforms. I don't know who these people are, so I cannot recommend them. But, I think we've had discussions that have been robust on proper diets and, cancer and all of that. If you go to our YouTube channel, Medical Mondays with Dr. O, or on Facebook, Medical Mondays with Dr. O, you will see robust information on diet, cancers, and avoiding cancers and proper diet. Aman says, thanks for hearing the questions on toothpaste and lobbying. Okay. Austin says, the history of genetically modified food was to feed a larger growing population. And with less people farming, it became a necessity. We just need to study the long-term effects of genetically modified foods. Buy organic when possible, especially leafy vegetables. Check out the Dirty Dozen for foods with the most chemicals. Thank you so much for bringing that up. We have talked about the Dirty Dozens on Medical Mondays at one time, and it freaked me out when I saw that kale is actually on the top of vegetables that have a lot of insecticides. It's on the top. That's scary. I think we will revisit that sometime to talk again about, specifically about foods and GMO and the Dirty Dozen. Thank you. You can also Google the Dirty Dozen to see what that means, but you will see the foods that are very high in insecticides and these chemicals. So with that being said, I want to share with us that we will not be airing Medical Mondays next week because it's Labor Day. So enjoy yourself, but while enjoying, please be safe. COVID is raging. Somebody private chatted me earlier on about a new strain of COVID that is supposedly, more dangerous. The symptoms are not peculiar. COVID is weird anyway. People have COVID and they have different symptoms. It's not like any virus that we've known in history. So I want to encourage you to please keep safe till we see after Labor Day. For your Labor Day events, be careful, because if you're going into the midst of large crowds, somebody may have COVID and it can be easily contracted. I want to also just thank Dr. Mary Olodun again for being here and for serving. She's a naturopathic doctor as well as a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army. She served, and I just want to say thank you for all she does. We also have another retired lieutenant colonel, Monica Womack, who has been on Medical Mondays to also support. So till we see after Labor Day, be safe and be